All right, so we're back in the kitchen today and we've got about a kilo of beef. I use lean beef steak mince, which is about 5% fat. I don't think it matters massively if you're using higher fat stuff, as long as you're taking into account your calories. I don't think it's the end of the world if you're using slightly higher fatty stuff, but personal preference for taste, I like the lower fat stuff, so that's kind of what I go for. So kilo beef. We've also got over here 2 kilos of potatoes, and we're going to be using about a kilo of garden peas. So it's kind of like a 1-to-3 ratio of meat to veg, just because it tastes nice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is brown the mince. All right, brown it all up. And when it's brown, we're going to do something unusual. We're going to add in a few OXO cubes, okay? That might seem a bit weird, but the reasons will become clear later when we put the whole concoction together. And now, in the meantime, while that's frying up and simmering, we want to parboil, or at least partially parboil the potatoes. So I've browned the mince and added in the OXO cubes. I just added in a little bit of water, so it's just got a little bit of a sauce, mostly just to keep the mince moist and to stop it from getting dry. And while I'm doing that, the potatoes are parboiling, just sort of partially, not a massive amount. I'll probably just boil this until the water boils and then take it off, cut it up, and we'll go on to the next stage of combining them together. All right, so the next job is to chop up these potatoes after they've been parboiled. And there we go. That is somewhat browned, and that's enough for the next stage, which is to put this into the big pan in with the beef and with the peas. So we don't need the potatoes to be completely browned. They just need to be soft enough for the next stage, and they don't need to be super soft at this stage, because otherwise they'll just start breaking apart. We still want them to be whole, so that's why we parboil them and then seal them. That's ready for the next stage. If we don't do that, then if we just sort of boil them all the way, then what happens is we end up in a situation where they just break apart lots and they don't look very nice in the end iteration. So, next step. And there we go. So, I've carried on seasoning it with some more salt, with some more spices. And as you can see, even though this has been simmering for quite a while, the potatoes are still relatively much, sort of in one piece, which is what we wanted, which is why we didn't overly boil them at the beginning. So yeah, I'll portion this out and let you have a look at what it looks like. All right, look at this. So we've got here the 1 kilo of lean beef. We've got about 2 kilos of potatoes, which have been parboiled and pan fried, as well as now about a kilo of garden peas. Plus, I've used a ton of curry powder, as well as salt, pepper, just a lot of stuff to kind of like spice it up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to about half fill this entire container. So this is 4 kilos of food here. I'm going to half fill this entire container with water and then just let it simmer and boil off, and then it'll be ready. And there we go. There you have it. So that is beef steak mince, 5% steak mince with peas and potatoes. Overall, this was about a kilo of steak mince with 2 kilos of potatoes and about a kilo of peas, which should be about 4 kilos. Now, it has actually made 10 boxes, which are about 500 grams each, which doesn't make any sense, but I imagine it's just the water that I added. So it's all good. I've got 5 kilos of food here, all prepped in, I don't know, it took me a couple of hours while I was working at the same time. So really nice. Most of these are going to go in the freezer, and I'll just have them out when I feel like it. I'll either have this as one sort of standalone portion, or what I normally do is I have half with something else, like with some pork or some lamb or some mint or some, something else, or some vegetables, whatever I feel like. But just one of these on their own are quite nice. And I quite like this kind of stuff for the winter because it's very warming, because it's quite spicy in itself, and it's also a very warm type of dish with all the potatoes, the peas, the beef. It's quite a warm dish, so it's a nice way of getting some extra beef in your diet, which I struggle with sometimes unless I'm having steak. I like steak, but aside from that, I struggle with getting extra beef in my diet. So I tend to resort to things like lamb and pork quite a lot. But there we go. That is that. Hopefully you guys found that, I don't know, useful, maybe interesting, maybe something you want to try yourself. But I enjoy it. It's good. Tastes nice. Tastes great.